Hi everyone, welcome back to Brookdale Farm. Today I just thought we'd have a quick look at this old Fordson Model F. This one is from about 1923. Well, the back end of it is anyway. The engine has been replaced with a later model Fordson engine at some point. These have a 4-cylinder petrol start kerosene run engine in them. They're only about 20 horsepower, but in 1923 that was actually a reasonably big tractor. On this side here we've got the magneto down here, and this is the carburetor and exhaust manifold all in one. Now these were a vaporizing carburetor. You start them on petrol, and when they're warmed up you switch them over to kerosene. So this is the float chamber down here, and then this chamber on the back here is bolted onto the exhaust manifold, and it's got a zigzag passage that runs through it. So by the time it gets to the top here, it's actually a petrol or kerosene vapor that you're taking into the engine rather than a liquid as in most modern cars. This is the mixture adjustment jet. And you do need to fiddle with these a bit to get them to run right. We've got the choke up here. On the top here we've got the petrol tank at the back here, and this holds about a gallon. Then this cap here is the kerosene tank, and it fills the rest of this space, and that's what you normally run on. You've got your radiator cap up the front here. Now if we go around the back and have a look at the controls, these are really basic tractors. You've got to remember these came out in, I think, 1916 the first prototype was built, and there wasn't much to them back then. We obviously have our steering wheel, we've got our throttle here, we've got our choke here. In here is normally the on this model it adjusts the timing on the governor, on the distributor, but since this has a later model engine in, it would adjust the timing on the magneto. So you start it with, if the lever was here, you start it with it down here, you move it up to about here for running on kerosene, and right round here is to stop it. Obviously we're missing it, so we've got to manually do it on this tractor. We have our gear lever on this side. We have 3 forward gears, so first, second, third, and reverse. This lever here is to put the pulley in and out of gear, and this is our clutch lever here. If we push it halfway down, that disengages the gearbox, and then we push it right down to the floor, and that's our brakes. The really early Fordson tractors didn't actually even have brakes. They didn't think they were that important. So it's a pretty easy tractor to drive if it's running nicely. These ones have a multi-plate wet clutch in them. When they have been sitting for a while, the clutch plates all stick together and they're near impossible to get into gear. And the reason this one is sitting here still is because when we brought it up here, I could not get the clutch to work at all. So I'm hoping we can get it going today and move it out of the paddock back down to the shed, and then later on this year we'll split it and see if we can fix up the clutch on it. So we're going to have a go at getting this going today. I've already put water and petrol in it. To check the oil on these, on the sump here there should be 2 little taps. I'm missing the bottom one. The oil level should be between these 2. So if we turn the top tap on and we get a little bit of oil coming out, we know we've got enough. If we turn the bottom tap on and nothing comes out, we know we need to add some. The next thing we're going to do to it is just quickly whip out the spark plugs, and put a little bit of oil in each cylinder, so I'm just going to do that quickly now. These have enormous spark plugs in them. I'll just unscrew this one and show you the spark plug. So this is probably 1.5 times the size of a normal plug. These ones are pretty old plugs, but some of these also come apart, so you can actually take the porcelain part out to clean them. They're a bit unusual. You don't see them very often anymore, but I do still have a couple of sets of them. So yeah, I'm just going to whack a bit of oil down the cylinders, and we'll see if we can get this to run. To start these tractors, the first thing we need to do is make sure it's in neutral. It is possible to crank start these in gear, and if you do, it will run you over. So really important, make sure it's in neutral. Pull the choke right out, set the throttle at about half. Turn the petrol tap on under here. Now from the front, when we're cranking, we can actually reach the choke, because once it fires, we need to put that to about half. Okay, whenever we are crank starting any vehicle, car, tractor, engine, whatever it is, a couple of quick tips. Always hold the crank handle with your thumb wrapped around behind it like that. That means that if it backfires and the crank spins backwards, it pulls out of my hand like that. If I have my thumb wrapped around it, particularly if I'm pushing down on the crank, when it backfires, it will break my thumb. So the other reason, we always pull up on the crank. If we're pushing down on the crank handle and it backfires, even if we're holding it correctly, we are likely to slip forward and the crank can come back and hit us in the face. This is a pretty short crank, so it's unlikely to do that, but it's a good idea to get into the habit. Always hold it right and always crank on the upstroke. That way, if it backfires and it slips out of our hand, we move away from it. If we get pulled forward, it's going to pull us into the radiator and we'll hit our head. So let's have a go and see if this is going to run today. I hope you've enjoyed this little video about our Fordson Model F. Thanks very much for watching, and I hope to see you again next time. Bye!